Welcome to the Parenting Coach Podcast with Crystal. Over 7 years ago, I felt like I was stuck in this cycle of yelling and reactivity in my parenting that I did not want to be in, but I didn't know how to get out of. I knew how I wanted to parent pretty much exactly, and I'd spent hours reading books, but not finding a way to show up how I wanted to. That's when I started to turn inwards. My own inward journey was what my family needed. As I changed, everything around me changed. My kids' meltdowns decreased by 90% or more with no medications or therapy. I stopped yelling, sibling fighting became almost entirely non-existent, and I found that this change flowed into other areas of my life too. My intuition increased. I started to run my life and business in a very different way. If this sounds like something you want to, I can help. Join me each week as I share my journey, including the laughter, fun, hard times, and tears. Tune in for support, guidance, and fun conversations with my favorite experts, and really anything else that interests me too. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think oftentimes mental health support misses when it comes to what I've seen with therapy and counseling and life coaching, and what we can do to change that, what we can do to shift that. I will also be leaving you with some exercises that you'll hear me coach somebody through an exercise, and I will give her some tips, and I will share some things with her, and you can use those same practices on you. This is also a really helpful episode if you are a coach or a therapist or a counselor of any kind, and you are feeling like you want to dig deeper with your clients, especially in regards to shame. I took a training through Brené Brown called Dare to Lead several years ago. I took it through a facilitator that had taken it from Brené, and it was Brené's curriculum. And as I was learning through that, I realized that shame is at the core of so much. And what that program helped me see was how it is everywhere, how it is affecting everything. And now I see it everywhere and I can't unsee it. And I feel like it is my life's journey, my life's goal to help people move through that. I was left after that program with a lot of questions because I was like, hey, how do we help people through this? And then spent the next couple of years looking for answers to those questions and finding them in somatic work, in subconscious work, in ways we can move energy through our body. And so I would love to share those with you. I will be sharing those with you on this episode and also next week's episode through some coaching calls. So you can see what that actually looks like, because I have talked about them in past episodes. I think I talk about it in Shame-Free Parenting, which was a few weeks ago. And I also talked about it in Subconscious Beliefs. I've talked about it a lot, but sometimes it might be hard to actually realize, like, how does this actually work? What does that actually look like? And you'll be able to see that through a coaching call today. I also want to share that my mother, who is a therapist, and I are going to be coming together and doing a shame seminar, shame resiliency seminar. And it is specifically for coaches, therapists, and counselors that want to learn how to help their clients access and process through their shame. We will be talking about the nervous system. We will be giving you somatic and subconscious processes, and we will be doing it together. We'll be working through together. It's going to be 2 full days from 9 to 5. It will be big. It will be a lot. There will be a lot of practice. There will be a lot of feedback. There will be a lot of time for questions and discussions and diving deeper. And you will go home feeling so much more equipped to handle shame, to recognize shame, not only in your life, you'll notice shifts, but also in the lives of your clients in a way that will make you feel much more effective and much more helpful to your clients when it is shame that they're dealing with, that you'll be able to notice that, recognize that, have some tools to help support them through that, and move them through quickly. In this little episode today that I'm going to share, I think it's only like 13 minutes that I work through with this lady, and you'll see how much shifts in that time. So if you are interested, if you are a healer in any way and you are interested in joining that, the sign up will be in the show notes. You can also send me questions via email at crystal@coachcrystal.ca or over on my Instagram at The Parenting Coach. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to start with what shame is. This is the first question that I asked. If you listen to my 5 Days to Shame-Free Parenting, you can find that on my podcast as bonus episodes on the podcast. The very first question I ask everybody is, what is shame? And they actually had really fabulous answers. One of them said, deep embarrassment of the self. Somebody else said, feeling like nothing you do will measure up, that you won't measure up. Feeling like something is like deeply wrong with you. I think those are great examples. Brene Brown says the difference between guilt and shame is guilt is I did something wrong and shame is I am wrong. My quick definition of shame is always not enoughness. So some area of my life where I feel like I'm not measuring up, where there is not enoughness. And I also find when shame is present, I'm also putting humans on a hierarchy. I am putting people above me or below me, depending on how I'm feeling that day. And that there's this level, this hierarchy, this ladder of enoughness that I am constantly failing at, that I am constantly falling below others at. It's in comparison to others. I also did a training through David Bedrick. He does great shame teaching that you can go and check out. He's written some books and stuff that you can read about it. But what I would say, my quick definition is going to be shame is not enoughness in any way. It's more about you, your value, your worth, your being, feeling wrong, feeling not enough than what you've actually done, the behaviors. And the interesting thing about shame too is that feeling that way doesn't actually ever promote any sustainable change in the future. It is going to impact your relationships in negative ways. It's going to block you from your intuition. It's going to block you from creative solutions. It's going to block you from the change that you want. It's going to interact in your relationship in negative patterns. It's going to keep you stuck in the same habitual patterns you've been in for a long time. It is never a healthy way to change things. We often think that it is because our parenting was often very shame-based, our own childhood. Most of the arenas that we were in life were shame-based. And so it's tricky to not feel like that's the way to change. Like, I will feel better if I beat myself up. But it doesn't work that way. There's never an amount of you beating yourself up that you're going to feel better at. One of the quick examples that I often give people is imagine that you're at a gym and you're exercising, you're working out. It's a new gym. You haven't been there before. And the gym trainer comes up to you and is like, why did it take you so long to get here? Why is this your first time? You should have been exercising a long time ago. You're in terrible shape. You're not doing the spin thing fast enough on those spinny bikes, or your yoga isn't stretchy enough, or you're not running quickly enough. You need to lift more weights. And they're just yelling at you and just berating you. And you leave that gym and you're like, wow, I immediately want to go back there and I want to get better and I want to exercise more, right? No. that's not what happens, right? You're like, actually, that was a pretty terrible experience. And I don't think I'm ever going to go back to that gym, and I'm going to find a different gym. And the most supportive gym probably goes like this. It's like a really cute, nice environment. Maybe it's like fresh and clean. It has like nice workout stuff with like really clear instructions. The trainers are very lovely. They're like, oh, don't worry. I can show you how to do this. Oh yeah, you're doing a great job, right? They're supportive. They're helpful. They're loving. They're kind. They're accepting. Your experience with that gym is going to be 100% different. That's what it's like with shame. We often think that it's going to be supportive, that it's going to be healthy for us, that it's going to help us somehow in the future. And we don't necessarily think this consciously, but definitely subconsciously, these thoughts are going on. And so I like to show ourselves that it's not actually as helpful as it feels. The other thing I want to mention is shame is always here. Shame is always, if you're humans and if you're a human that feels empathy, AKA not a sociopath, you are going to feel shame. You're going to deal with shame. And so if you're not doing something about it, it's just going to keep growing. It's like deciding to stop flossing your teeth and then stop brushing them and then stop going to the dentist every 6 to 9 months to get your teeth checked and stop getting x-rays. And when you have a cavity, you don't get it filled, right? And eventually turns into a root canal and all of these things. It's like oral hygiene for your brain. Like it is going to show up. And so if you don't have a regular practice of knowing what to do with shame, then it's just going to keep popping up and keep building and keep impacting your relationships in ways that you don't want. So what I call, Brene Brown calls it this, shame resiliency. So the ability to feel it, to process through it, to move on beyond it. And I think even more than resiliency is like, we're not just bouncing back to where we were before, but we're actually growing. We're learning from it. We're getting even better after that. And better being in regards to our emotional health and well-being and what we learn from it. So, that is shame. I am going to give you an example of how it shows up, but I first want to mention that if you have a coach, therapist, healer, counselor, whoever it is that you're seeing, tell them that you want to work through shame. Tell them that that's something that you know is impacting you because you're human and have them focus some sessions on that, if not all of your sessions on that. And you will notice a huge shift and a huge change, because even if you want to change another relationship, right, with your parents, with your kids, with a sibling, with your partner, whoever it is, you're the relationship that's the common denominator. Your relationship with yourself is a relationship that you're bringing into all of these other relationships. Your relationship with yourself and all of your other relationships are an extension of your relationship with yourself. And so that's where we want to be working. And as we work at that, then the other things shift and change. So I would specifically ask for that. I have actually, I remember recently speaking to someone who was dealing with panic attacks and major anxiety. And as we worked through this stuff, we were working through anxiety and panic attacks and fear and all of those feelings. Under the surface was shame. And shame that they had never processed, that they hadn't recognized, that they didn't even know was under the surface. And so my tip to them was, go find someone that can help you with this. This is the thing that's driving the anxiety, that's driving what you are seeing, the symptoms on the outside. And this is what we want to deal with. So as you're listening to this today, I would just ask yourself, where is shame showing up for me? Maybe it'll come clearly. Maybe you'll take a few days and just ponder on it and be like, I wonder how it's showing up for me. And hopefully through this coaching session that you're going to hear shortly, you'll be able to hear a little bit more about that. The example that I'm going to give you before we dive into the coaching session is a client brought this up to me, and she felt like she was interacting with her child and it wasn't working. She was trying to get her child to do something that her child did not want to do. And it wasn't just one experience. It was like happening throughout the day. It was like her child was really resistant to do anything that they were doing that day. So it was going to bed or eating dinner or getting dressed or whatever it was. Their child was just super resistant. And she was like, this is not working. And I've tried everything. This is not working. And I've read all the parenting books and I know all the answers and I tried them all and it's not working. I know you're going to say that compassion is the answer. And I tried that too. And it's also not working. And so I said, I want you to tell me the story, but not the story about what happened, but the emotional story. I want you to tell me the emotions that you were feeling and move through that story instead of the details, instead of what she did and what you did. And instead of even what was going on in your thoughts, I want you to tell me what was happening with your feelings as you went through. And this is what she shared. She said that in the beginning, she was feeling really calm. She was feeling really patient, and she was really feeling compassionate. And she was able to feel that for quite some time. And over time, she noticed it moved to frustration. She was trying to stay in calm and patience, but she noticed that there was some frustration that was kind of building. And as the frustration built, it eventually switched into the one that she was really struggling with, which was helplessness. And she said, oh no, it actually feels like helplessness here. It feels like I'm doing all this work and she doesn't care. I'm doing all this work on me. I'm doing all this inner child work. I'm like doing so much to give her something different than I was given. And she doesn't appreciate it. She doesn't appreciate me. I don't matter. Nothing that I do makes a difference. It doesn't matter. Nothing I do works. Right. And that you might not recognize as shame, but I recognize this as shame because this is some level of not enoughness, right? What I'm doing is not working. I'm trying all of this and it's not working. It's not happening. And also the thoughts of that I don't matter or that nothing that I do works. And so I recognized that in there. And so then we dropped into the body and we did some processes in the body and we moved some energy and shifted some feelings. And at the end, she felt much better. And I asked her to go back and kind of visualize, like, what would you have done in that scenario? And she came up with some different ways of responding. And this often happens. This happened in this coaching session, but this happens often where it feels like less of a big deal. It feels really urgent and it feels like a problem when shame's right there and really present and you're feeling big emotions. Like, I have to figure this out. I have to solve this right now. But over time, as you're able to shift this energy and move these emotions, oftentimes it just feels like it's not as big of a deal as I thought that it was. And also that solutions will come and I can just be a little bit more calm and relaxed about it. And so as you listen to this coaching session that's coming up, you are going to hear a mom who is feeling overwhelmed in dealing with her kids. Her kids are having some dietary issue stuff coming up and it's affecting their behavior. And we're going to talk about fighting and big emotions. And she's feeling overwhelmed and frustrated with it. And we are going to dig into her shame underneath her big emotions. And we're going to move this through her body in less than 15 minutes. I think it's like 13, 14 minutes that we move it through her body. And you're going to see how that happens. And you can do do those same exercises on your own. And I really want to encourage you to do this work. So if you're a client that's wanting to do this work on yourself, integration is so much more important than information. We can get really caught in the listening to podcasts and reading books and getting more information and learning more skills, but not actually integrating them. And I'm going to offer that the most important thing you can do today, this hour, this week, is not just listen to this podcast, but actually take what I'm saying and offering and integrate even just a small little piece of it. Actually do one of the things, one tiny little thing. And the very smallest step that you can do that I think is simple is grab a journal that's your inner child journal and start communing with your inner child. Start asking your own inner child, what about that bothered me? What is going on underneath that? What do you have to tell me? Why am I feeling frustrated? You can start journaling about your emotions, about the emotions that are bubbling up for you and what's behind them. Okay, so we're going to get into this. I also want to mention that the seminar where we're going to be teaching coaches and therapists and counselors about shame, how to recognize it in your clients, how to move through it. It's going to be 9 to 5, 2 days. It's going to be very full. There's going to be a lot of practice. There's going to be a lot of feedback, a lot of time to ask questions and move through it. And you'll feel very confident when you leave in being able to do this with your clients and also for yourself, which I think is almost more important because I think in my experience, I haven't been able to take people to the depths that I haven't gone to with my own self. I haven't been able to just say, okay, go do this thing and it worked for them if it's not something that I have actually used and integrated and felt and changed with. So we will do a lot of that. Make sure to check that out as well, especially after you listen to this episode, after you listen to this coaching session. If you're like, yes, this is the work I want to learn, come and learn it with us, and it will be a beautiful experience. So thanks for listening, and I hope that this little session that you're going to listen to is helpful, and you can take something from it to help you in integrating what we have been talking about here today. So tell me what's going on.
So I don't really know how to frame this as a question, I guess. But so my youngest, who's 8 now, sounds a lot like your oldest when you talked in your original podcast episodes about the huge emotions and things. And we recently found out that it's linked to him eating corn.
Oh, ours was also, anyways, there's some family stuff with corn there and behavior being connected to food. So yeah, it's a tricky one.
So avoiding corn and food is one thing, but we recently realized at school they did a project with cornstarch and he came home and had a huge freak out. So now I'm realizing that it's even when he breathes it in or touches it. So I'm feeling really overwhelmed at my lack of ability to keep him safe in the world. We were driving to school this morning and a truck pulled up in front of us and it had corn in the back and it the stuff started flying out of the back into the car. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to breathe it in. It's everywhere. So I'm feeling a lot of I don't know, like I said, how can I even keep this person safe? And
what is your brain's first response when I ask you, because you're questioning, how can I keep him safe? What is your brain's response to you about that?
It's not fair. I just feel really angry sometimes that, because I also have celiac. So it's we have these 2 major foods and we have to avoid them. And I just feel really frustrated and it's unfair that he has to deal with it. I have to deal with it. Our whole family has to deal with these reactions from it. And also just it's just so overwhelming.
Okay. Let's see if we can break it down into a couple of thoughts that are under the surface there. So one's probably it's unfair, but let's also dig into if it's true that it's unfair and that it is overwhelming and that it's too much and that you can't keep him safe, what does that mean about you?
It probably comes down to every time I drill down to these is just I'm not a good enough mom. I'm not going to be able to. Yeah, just the most painful thought every time I have it is just I'm not good enough. I'm not a good mom. Just kind of it seems so generic, but it's such a painful thought. When I'm in the moment and he's freaking out and I feel I wasn't able to stop it again.
It
It's like
feels
a
very specific, not generic when it's you in the
right.
moment, right? Because
Specific
shame
to
tells
you.
us like you're the only one who feels like
Right.
you're not enough, right?
Right. And
Although
then
everyone on this call is like, wait a second, that's my thought too. Yeah.
my mind is constantly comparing, like on the weekends when we're having one tantrum after another. And I'm always telling my husband, like, this isn't normal. This isn't how it is for the other families. They like the weekends and we're miserable all the time because of these huge reactions that he's constantly having. And
Yeah.
so it's like my mind is always trying to find like proof
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
prove it to my husband all the time.
That's because we have this thing called the confirmation bias. And our confirmation bias is like, if this is the story, then like that's our brain only shows us evidence of that story. So that makes sense. That's totally why that's happening. And what we're going to do is we're going to get into our subconscious and shift that belief a little bit. I want you to think about in the moment when the big emotions are happening, or when the corn husks are flying all over, or when he comes home and has had cornstarch or whatever, and you're feeling under the surface, I'm not good enough. How strong of a belief do you have on that 0 to 10, 10 being like all the way, I feel this?
Well, I listened every day to the replays last week, so I feel like that's been really helpful at making me realize that that's not actually true. So, I mean, I feel maybe like a 6 this week, but I would have probably said like a 9 last week.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Well, it's awesome that you're already like 9 to 6, huge shift. Let's see if we can get it even lower. We're going to do a little subconscious work. Okay, so we're going to close our eyes and we're going to get into our bodies, because we can consciously talk about this all day, but if our subconscious is not on board, we're not going to be able to accept a new belief or release this false belief. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to breathe in through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth, and just extending that exhale a little bit. Being open to receiving a new belief, being open to releasing false belief. And I want you to think about a time where you knew that I'm not good enough was under the surface. Go back to a memory. It can be super recent. It can be like before you even got on this call, whenever it was, where you kind of knew under the surface was this lingering, I'm not good enough belief. And I want you to go to that memory and pull it back up into your system as if you are in it, as if you have now stepped into that memory and you were looking around you. You see what room you're in. You see who else is there with you. Maybe you notice smells or sights, sounds, textures. And you bring the feeling up into your body. You release the memory, allowing it to slide off your back, down into the ground, melt off. But we are going to stick with this energy inside. We don't even have to name it. We don't even have to notice what it might be. We're just going to bring up the feeling within our body, the energy within our body. And we're going to watch it for a moment, noticing maybe where we feel it in the body, noticing maybe a color or texture or temperature, just watching it. We're also going to notice how familiar it feels. Maybe you felt it this morning, yesterday, the day before, on the weekend. But it's more familiar than that, even. There's something familiar about it, even from your childhood. And I want you to subconsciously think of the age that this belief and this energy feel connected to. It doesn't have to make logical sense, but what number comes to mind when you think about this feeling? Tell me the age out loud.
3.
Okay. So we're going to go back to 3. We're imagining ourselves at 3, being full of this feeling, feeling it even more than we feel right now, feeling so much of it in their tiny little body. watching how it feels for them. And I want you to do this in your mind, this exercise in your mind. We're going to let that 3-year-old say everything that they want to say in the energy that they would say it. So if they're feeling anger or hurt or sad, however they would say it in your mind, allow that 3-year-old self to say that to you. When you feel like they've said everything they need to say, let me know.
Okay.
What do you think they need?
To believe that they're good.
Mm. So let's bring ourselves into that memory, our now self. We bring it back, we sit alongside them. Maybe we're both on a bench. And as we sit beside them, I want you to imagine how you would help them feel that or believe that. Maybe it's through words, but maybe it's just through energy. Maybe it's just through sitting with them. Just go ahead and give them whatever it is that they need. And when you notice they're feeling release and shift, when they feel different, let me know.
It shifted.
Okay. So we're going to stay with them in this shifted energy. However they feel now, we also feel it. The feeling going back and forth from them to us and us to them. We sit there with them in this energy that maybe feels open, but also grounded, supported, held. Maybe you give them one last hug and notice that they meld into you, like the two becoming one. They are a part of you. And we're going to give you that same feeling, tell you that same belief, what it is that they needed, you give you also. We're going to imagine going into our heart center where we have this control room with all these switches. And all of the switches are different feelings that we turn up and turn down. And we go up to how we're feeling now and we turn that up. This supported feeling, this calm, grounded feeling, we're going to turn that up. Feeling of love. Spreading it all the way to the top of our head, down our arms until to our fingers, down our feet, to our toes. And as we sit with this feeling, all feelings are messages, we're going to sit and see if a thought comes, if a phrase, a word, a message comes to us.
You want me to say it out loud?
Go ahead. Yeah. If it came to you, you can say it out loud.
Like a really powerful, you are so good.
Mm. Mm. Yes. Notice how truth feels different in your body. Notice how that belief feels so different than the first one. We're going to take our pointer finger and our thumb and press them together. And as we do, we're going to breathe in through the nose, exhaling out, shaking the body. Okay. Scale of 1 to 10. I'm not good enough. How do you believe it now?
0.
Isn't that cool?
Wow. That feels really good. Whew.
And the more we practice this emotional state, the more we practice this belief, the more it becomes part of us. Because it is truth. We just need to remember it. We've been told the opposite for a long time by our own brain and by other people. I'm going to leave you with one exercise because I know you have to run. And the exercise is this: from this energy, from this feeling, from this belief, what do you do differently? How do you show up differently? Go into a few different arenas of your life. So go in the parenting arena and just kind of envision from this energy, watch yourself as like a fly on the wall and be like, what do I do here? What shifts here? How do I feel differently here? And then again, bring it to maybe your relationship with your partner. If you have a partner, I think you said you did. Or maybe over here, work, homeschool, I don't know, whatever else you have, try to take it to a few different arenas and just play that through. Like, well, from this energy, what do I do? What do I not do? What changes?
Lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's awesome.
Thanks for coming
Bye,
on. Go get your kids.
everyone.
Okay. Wasn't that awesome? I just love this work so much. And I love being able to help give people those shifts and to see them shift. And when we did the 5 days to shame-free parenting, I talked to some of the clients there, like even after the first day, and they already started to notice changes in how they then responded to their kids in their parenting. So it's beautiful to see this in a small little session, but it's even cooler to see later on how it has impacted that when they normally would show up one way, they normally have one habitual pattern and way of thinking and being and doing, and now they have a different one. And that's a beautiful thing to see. So remember, integration, integration, integration. Go and take something, some small little nugget from today's podcast episode and try to integrate it. And if you do, if you have an experience you want to share, I would love to hear it. If there's anything else you want to hear from my podcast this season, reach out and let me know. If you're like, I really want this kind of topic or this kind of exercise, I would love to answer those for you. And come join our seminar. If you are a coach, healer, counselor, therapist, whatever, all the things, come join us on November 22nd and 23rd, which I think is a Friday and a Saturday. Whatever the Friday and Saturday is, those are the November dates, and it will be in Southern Alberta. The location is TBA for now, and come join us and let's dig into all of this shame stuff and move through our own and others, and together it will be a really beautiful time. All right, we'll see you next week. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, I would love for you to help spread the word by getting this message of support and guidance out to as many people as possible. So text it to your best friend or tag me on Instagram and share it. Leave a review, rate it, subscribe it, or follow on your favorite platform. Send me a DM on IG letting me know which parts have impacted you or what you'd like to see on future episodes. We'll see you next week.